Chosen one. This is not a random message crossing your path at an ordinary hour. This is a divine interruption. And heaven is making it clear that something has already begun to move around you. What you have been feeling is real. The restlessness, the pull, the quiet sense that your life can no longer remain where it has been. None of it is your imagination. Your angels are speaking with urgency. Today, you are not only shifting emotionally, spiritually, or mentally. You are entering a literal movement, a real transition, a change that will touch your environment, your direction, and the very structure of your daily life. And hear this with full certainty. Chosen one, before May 17. Liang Qianling Arshalu. A door of movement will begin to open in a way you cannot ignore. This is not merely about leaving one place and arriving at another. This is about destiny accelerating. This is about God moving you out of what can no longer contain who you have become. But the part that should shake your spirit the most is this: you will not go into this next chapter alone. The angels say you are moving with someone who truly loves you, someone your soul has been reaching for in silence, someone heaven has been preparing beyond your sight. This person is not a fantasy. They are real. They are near. And while you have been wondering if the love meant for you still exists, God has been aligning footsteps, healing timelines, and arranging moments that will bring this connection into view. You were not set apart to spend your whole life carrying everything alone. You were called, preserved, and refined for a union that will not drain you, but strengthen you, not confuse you, but confirm you, not delay you, but move with you into the promise. Something is shifting now. Something holy is drawing near. And if this word is speaking directly to your spirit, comment 777 below and declare, "I receive this divine shift." Then like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this message with someone who needs to know that their season of walking alone is coming to an end. You have walked through seasons where silence was your only companion, where you had to carry your own heart, steady your own mind, and keep moving even when no one around you understood the weight you were bearing. But heaven is speaking with force now that season is closing. The chapter of surviving everything alone is coming to an end, because the God who set you apart never intended for your next level to be entered in isolation. There is a divine difference between being hidden and being abandoned. And what you have lived through was never abandonment. It was preparation. It was a separation for sanctification. It was God removing what could not go where you are going, stripping away counterfeit connections, immature attachments, and empty distractions so that when the right person appeared, you would recognize the difference immediately. The one being sent toward you will not arrive to add confusion to your life. They will not come to compete with your calling, dilute your peace, or burden your spirit. They are coming as part of the answer. They are coming as confirmation. They are coming with a heart that has also been processed, humbled, healed, and trained by the hand of God. This is why what is approaching you carries such weight in the spirit. It is not ordinary affection. It is not another lesson dressed up as love. It is a divinely timed connection that will meet you in the version of yourself that has already been through the fire and did not break. You may have noticed that certain people, places, and patterns no longer fit you the way they once did. What used to comfort you now feels too small. What used to entertain you now feels empty. What used to hold your attention now cannot keep your spirit. That is not emotional instability. That is a spiritual transition. God is loosening your grip on the old because your life is making room for what is real. And the truth is, your heart already senses that someone is drawing near. Not someone who will merely admire your strength from a distance, but someone who will walk beside it, honor it, and help carry what heaven never meant for you to carry alone. The next season will not be built on lonely endurance. It will be marked by alignment, companionship, and holy support. So let me ask you this: have you felt the old season slipping off of you, even if you could not yet explain why? Have you sensed that your spirit is making room for someone your eyes have not fully seen yet? If this speaks to you, comment below. I will not enter my next season alone. The person moving toward you is not casual, not accidental, and not a small event in your life. This is where you must become very alert in your spirit, because what heaven is sending toward you will expose everything that no longer belongs around you. When real love gets close, false comfort begins to shake. When divine partnership approaches, counterfeit attachments lose their mask. And that is why the atmosphere around you may feel heavier before it feels clearer. The one coming toward you carries a different weight, a different fire, a different fragrance in the spirit. They may be younger than you in age, or younger in the way they carry life. But do not mistake that for immaturity. There is strength in them. There is freshness in them. There is a brightness that has survived darkness without becoming dark. They have suffered, but they did not become bitter. They have been tested, but they did not become cold. They have known disappointment, but they did not surrender their capacity for wonder. And this matters more than you realize. Because what is coming into your life is not just a person with affection to give, but a person with light to carry. They will not enter your life merely to admire your wounds. They will arrive with the kind of presence that makes your soul realize how long it has been bracing for impact, how long it has been expecting disappointment, how long it has been surviving instead of resting. This person is also marked by favor. Yes, there is material stability around them. Yes, there is financial blessing, opportunity, access, and an increase in connectedness to their life. But the deeper wealth they carry is harder to find and more dangerous to counterfeit. They are rich in discernment, rich in emotional depth, rich in generosity, rich in spiritual sensitivity. They know how to give without humiliating. They know how to lead without controlling. They know how to see pain in another person without trying to exploit it. And hear this clearly because they carry real substance. Their arrival will force a decision in you. You will not be able to keep entertaining what drains you once you encounter what strengthens you. You will not be able to keep calling confusion chemistry once peace stands in front of you. You will not be able to keep shrinking yourself for places that cannot honor you once someone arrives who can recognize your value without being threatened by it. This person loves movement, expansion, and discovery. There is something global about their spirit. They are drawn to places, cultures, languages, and experiences that stretch the soul. But even that is not random. Their love of travel is a sign of how they were built. They were not created to stay trapped in fear. And neither were you. They are coming with stories, insight, perspective, and a widened world. And when they meet you, something in your life will begin to accelerate. Not because they are your savior, but because they are part of the divine alignment attached to your next season. So do not reduce this to attraction. Do not reduce this to romance. This is more serious than that. Heaven is describing someone whose presence will confront your doubts, heal your hidden exhaustion, and call you out of every place where you have learned to live beneath what God promised you. You are about to enter a stretch of time where the signs will become too precise to dismiss and too repeated to call coincidence. Pay attention, because heaven does not always announce a shift with noise. Sometimes it announces it with patterns, with a stirring, with a disruption so persistent that your spirit cannot rest in the old place anymore. You may begin to notice sudden themes of travel appearing around you: destinations, languages, maps, invitations, conversations about moving, dreams of unfamiliar streets, even a strange pull toward places you have never seen with your natural eyes. Do not brush this aside. These are not random fascinations. These are signals. They are part of the way God prepares your inner world before He changes your outer one. You may also feel a holy dissatisfaction with what used to feel normal. Rooms that once felt safe may begin to feel tight. Routines that once comforted you may start to feel lifeless. Even certain relationships may become difficult to tolerate. Not because you have become proud, but because your spirit has started recognizing what can no longer go with you. This is serious. When heaven begins a transition, It does not ask permission from the comfort zones that kept you small. It starts breaking your agreement with stagnation. It starts disturbing the peace you made with less. It starts exposing every place where you settled only because you were tired. That is why this moment must be handled with discernment. Do not run back to what no longer fits just because the new thing feels unfamiliar. Scripture says in Isaiah 4:3-19, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it?" This is the question before you. Now do you perceive it? Do you recognize that what is shifting around you is not confusion, but divine movement? The signs will increase because the connection is drawing closer. Repeated numbers, weighty dreams, strange confirmations through strangers, an almost unexplainable urgency to prepare. These things are not meant to scare you. They are meant to wake you up. God is making the path visible in pieces because if He showed you everything at once, the intensity of it would overwhelm you. But make no mistake, the signs are not decoration. They are instructions. They are mercy. They are warning and promising at the same time. Have you been seeing the signs, but hesitating to trust what your spirit already knows? If this word meets you where you are, comment below, "I perceive the new thing," and declare that you will not miss the season. Heaven is opening over your life. What broke your heart was not the end of your story. What delayed you was not denial. What fell apart was not proof that heaven forgot your name. You must understand this now with greater clarity. Because if you misunderstand the pain behind you, you will misread the promise ahead of you. Those doors that shut, those relationships that dissolved, those moments when you begged God for something to stay and it still slipped through your hands, none of that was wasted. And none of it was random. It was protection wearing the face of disappointment. It was mercy hidden inside separation. It was God refusing to let you be permanently tied to people who could recognize your presence but not honor your purpose. There were connections you called love that would have crippled your calling. There were attachments you thought were necessary that would have drained your oil, weakened your discernment, and trained you to live beneath the standard of what was written over your life. That is why the loss had to be real. That is why the cutting had to be painful. That is why the silence had to be long enough to break your addiction to what was never sent to keep you. Heaven was not being cruel to you. Heaven was being severe with what wanted access to you without the capacity to cover, protect, or value what God placed inside you. You were being preserved. You were being pulled out of timelines that looked full but were empty. Out of futures that looked promising but carried no peace. Out of emotional agreements that would have cost you years of your life. And the truth is, the person coming toward you could not have met the version of you that was still willing to settle. They could not have joined themselves to the version of you that still called confusion love, inconsistency, passion, or neglect a test of loyalty. No, the fire had to do its work. The waiting had to strip you. The loneliness had to teach you how to hear God without interference. The heartbreak had to sharpen your ability to discern what feels intense from what is actually holy. And the same is true for the person being sent to you. They, too, have been processed. They, too, have cried in private, lost what they thought would last, and faced the kind of inner battles that force a soul to either become bitter or become clean. This is why the timing matters. Not because God was teasing you, but because He was preparing two lives separately before He joined them with purpose. So stop calling yourself rejected when you were actually reserved. Stop calling yourself forgotten when you were being hidden. Stop naming as punishment what was really preparation. The pain was real. Yes, but it was not meaningless. It was creating the strength, the humility, the wisdom, and the spiritual maturity required for where you are going next. And now, because of everything that did not work, you are becoming able to recognize what will finally work. What is coming to you will not only touch your emotions, it will go deeper than that. It will reach the places in you that learn to stay guarded, the places that kept functioning while quietly bleeding, the places that smiled on the outside while wondering in secret whether safe love was ever truly meant for you. This next connection is not being sent merely to make your heart feel full for a moment. It is being allowed by God to heal the deeper fractures beneath the surface, the fracture in how you see yourself, the fracture in what you believe you deserve, the fracture in how you have learned to relate to love, peace, and provision. For too long, you have known what it means to be strong under pressure, faithful in delay, and resilient in disappointment. But strength without tenderness can become survival. Faith without visible fruit can begin to feel exhausting. And resilience, if stretched for too many seasons, can quietly teach a person to expect struggle as if struggle were their permanent address. That lie is breaking now, because the love approaching you is not chaotic, not manipulative, not half-present, not the kind that feeds on your insecurity and then calls that passion. It is the kind of love that lets your nervous system exhale, the kind that does not make you question your worth every other day, the kind that does not force you to earn basic tenderness through overgiving, over-explaining, over-performing, and over-enduring. This is serious healing. Because when safe love enters a life that has been shaped by instability, it does more than comfort the heart, it retrains the soul. It teaches you that peace is not boredom. It teaches you that consistency is not weakness. It teaches you that being cherished does not have to come with fear attached to it. This person will not heal you by worshiping you, and they will not heal you by replacing God. They will heal you in the way divine alignment often heals, by becoming a living contradiction to the lies you survived. Where others made you feel invisible, they will see you. Where others pulled away when you needed depth, they will stay present. Where others mishandled your softness, they will treat it as something sacred. And slowly, powerfully, the parts of you that adapted to emotional famine will begin to understand that they are no longer in danger. Your heart will not have to beg to be held. Your voice will not have to fight to be heard. Your love will not have to shrink itself to avoid scaring someone away. That is one layer of healing. But there is another, and it is just as important. Your relationship with abundance is also being restored. For too long, many have taught you directly or indirectly that to be spiritual you must remain deprived, that to be humble you must stay small, that to be holy you must become comfortable with lack. But God is tearing down that false divide. Scripture says in Matthew 6:3, "But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." This means the life of faith was never meant to produce emptiness in every earthly area. It means that when you are aligned with heaven, addition can follow obedience, provision can follow surrender, increase can follow consecration. The person coming toward you will confront this old wound in you, because they will not carry the poverty mindset that taught you to fear overflow. They will not see blessing as something suspicious. They will not make you feel guilty for desiring beauty, stability, ease, rest, or security. Instead, their presence will help break the inner agreement you may have made with struggle. Not because money is the center of this prophecy, it is not, but because peace and provision are both part of the healing God is doing in your life. You are being delivered from the belief that every good thing must arrive wrapped in pain. You are being delivered from the idea that love must wound you to be deep, or that prosperity must corrupt you to be real. No. What is coming is showing you a holier pattern. You can be deeply rooted in God and still flourish in the natural. You can be spiritually awake and emotionally safe. You can be pure in heart and still be well provided for. You can be chosen by heaven and also cared for in tangible ways. That is why this healing will feel almost unfamiliar at first. It may feel too gentle, too stable, too clean compared to what you have known. There may even be moments when you are tempted to distrust it simply because it does not resemble the chaos you once called normal. But do not sabotage what God is finally allowing to be built correctly. Do not retreat from safe love because your wounds were trained to recognize danger more quickly than peace. Let this healing happen. Let your heart be reintroduced to rest. Let your self-worth rise out of the ashes of what diminished it. Let your spirit accept that being loved securely does not make you weak, it makes you whole. and let your hands open to receive the kind of blessing that does not pull you away from God, but makes you worship Him with even greater gratitude. Because this next season is not just about being loved by someone. It is about becoming free enough to receive what God always intended for you without fear, without self-rejection, and without apology. You may still hear the whisper of an old question trying to rise inside you. Why would someone like this choose me? Why would a person marked by joy, stability, and light look at my life and see something worth joining themselves to? That question is not small. It comes from the places in you that were overlooked, from the seasons that made you feel hidden in the wrong way, from the disappointments that tried to train your soul to expect less than what God actually wrote over your life. But that question must be confronted now. Because if you carry that doubt into this next season, you will be tempted to misread what is holy when it finally stands in front of you. Hear this clearly: they will choose you not in spite of your story, but with full sight of what your story has produced. They will not be drawn merely to your surface, to what is visible, to what impresses quickly and fades just as fast. They will be drawn to the weight in you, the depth in you, the quiet strength in you that was not manufactured in comfort but forged in fire. There is something in your spirit that cannot be imitated. There is a wisdom in you that did not come from books alone, but from surviving what should have broken you and still remaining soft enough for God to speak to. There is a steadiness in you, a gravity in you, a sacred beauty in the way you carry pain without letting it poison your purpose. And the person coming toward you will recognize that. They will recognize that you are not common. They will recognize that your tenderness cost something, that your discernment cost something, that your peace cost something. The world may look at outward appearance, age, image, timing, background, and all the visible measurements people use to decide what makes sense. But heaven has never used those standards as the highest authority. Scripture says in 1 Samuel 1:6-7, man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. That is the truth governing this connection. This is why you must stop judging your worth by the eyes of people who were never anointed to recognize you correctly. Stop measuring your value by those who benefited from your presence but never understood your purpose. Stop letting old rejection narrate your future as if the people who mishandled you were qualified to define what you deserve. They were not. They did not have the final word, and they do not have the authority to decide who will love you well. The one coming toward you will not be intimidated by your depth. They will not be threatened by your calling. They will not shrink back because you have scars. They will see the hand of God on your life, even in the places where you still see only the remnants of battle. In fact, some of the very things you worried would disqualify you will become part of what makes them trust you. Your maturity, your honesty, your endurance, your ability to carry truth without performance, your ability to remain faithful in hidden seasons. These things matter. These things speak. These things reveal the kind of foundation you have become. And this is why they will choose you. Not because you begged to be chosen. Not because you performed your way into being loved. Not because you became smaller, easier, quieter, or less demanding in order to fit into someone else's comfort. They will choose you because something in them will recognize home in your spirit. Something in them will recognize safety in your integrity. Something in them will recognize that what God built in you is rare. And rare things are not overlooked forever. So when that old insecurity tries to rise again, answer it with truth. You are not too much, not too late, not too marked by the past, not too complicated to be loved rightly. You are being seen through heaven's lens now. And the one assigned to you will have the capacity to see in that same light. What is approaching your life is not just romance. And you must not reduce it to something small simply because your heart has been waiting so long to be loved. This is bigger than affection, bigger than attraction, bigger than companionship in the ordinary sense. This is assignment. This is alignment. This is two lives being brought together under the hand of God for something that will reach far beyond private happiness. Yes, there will be tenderness. Yes, there will be joy. Yes, there will be the sweetness of finally being seen, chosen, and embraced without confusion. But do not stop there, because heaven is not only speaking about a relationship that comforts you, heaven is speaking about a union that activates purpose, multiplies impact, and opens dimensions of calling that neither of you were meant to carry alone. The person coming toward you is not entering your life to distract you from your mission. They are entering your life as part of your mission. That is why this connection carries such weight in the spirit. That is why it has been delayed until now. That is why so much had to be purified in both of you before the meeting could be permitted. This is not merely about building a home, sharing memories, or traveling side by side. Though all of that may be part of it, this is about becoming a vessel of visible evidence that divine partnership still exists, that two people can be joined in a way that does not dilute destiny but sharpens it, strengthens it, and sends it farther. Together, you will build. Together, you will speak. Together, you will create, bless, and release something into the earth that carries the signature of heaven on it. For some, that may look like a business marked by integrity and generosity. For others, it may look like a family raised in truth and light. For others, it may be art, music, writing, service, leadership, ministry, healing spaces, or quiet acts of obedience that change more lives than you can yet imagine. Do not underestimate it. What God is preparing through this union is not shallow, and it is not temporary. It is generational. It will outlive moods. It will outlast seasons. It will echo farther than your natural mind can currently measure. Scripture says in Ecclesiastes 4:9, "Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor." That verse is not only about companionship, it is about increase through holy agreement. It is about what happens when strength meets strength under God's order. It is about the reward that becomes possible when division is replaced by covenant, when isolation is replaced by partnership, when two purified paths finally converge at the right time. You have already learned how to survive alone. You have already proven that you can stand in hidden seasons, pray in silence, carry weight, and keep moving when nobody clapped for your obedience. But the next lesson is different. The next lesson is learning how to receive help without guilt, how to share purpose without fear, how to let someone stand beside you without feeling like you must weaken yourself to make room for them. This is holy work too. This is part of the transformation. Because when the right person arrives, your life will not become smaller to accommodate love. It will become larger. Your reach will grow. Your clarity will deepen. Your courage will rise. There are things inside you that have remained dormant not because they were absent, but because they were waiting for the right agreement to call them forth. And the same is true for the one being sent to you. There are gifts in them that will respond to your presence. There is wisdom in you that will steady their fire. There is fire in them that will awaken your expansion. Their strength will cover places where you have grown tired. Your discernment will protect places where they need grounding. It will not be perfect, because no human union on earth is flawless, but it will be ordered. It will be purposeful. It will be alive with the kind of grace that keeps calling two people upward instead of pulling them apart. This is why the enemy resists divine union so fiercely, because when such a connection comes together, it becomes more than a personal blessing. It becomes a threat to cycles of darkness, confusion, poverty, fear, and brokenness that have operated for generations. The love God is sending you is not only meant to soothe your private wounds, it is meant to break patterns. It is meant to rewrite inheritances. It is meant to show that a covenant can still be clean, that love can still be safe, that purpose can still be shared without one soul consuming the other. So do not speak lightly about what is coming. Do not call it just a relationship. Do not lower it with the language of people who only understand shallow things. This is assignment. This is the kind of union that carries oil on it, the kind that will force old chains to snap, old fears to surface and die, Old beliefs about what love must cost to be overturned by the reality of what heaven can build when two surrendered lives say yes to God at the same time. And when it finally unfolds before your eyes, you will understand that the waiting was never empty. It was making room for something weighty enough to carry not just your heart, but your future. Do not be surprised if the pressure increases just before the promise becomes visible. Do not be alarmed if old emotions suddenly try to rise. If familiar temptations begin knocking again. If distractions multiply. If confusion tries to creep into your thoughts. Or if people from the past start reappearing with strange timing. This is not random. This is what often happens when something holy is close enough to threaten everything unclean that once fed on your delay. The closer you get to divine alignment, the more aggressively the counterfeit may try to reintroduce itself. What once seemed finished may suddenly ask for your attention again. What once lost its hold on you may try one more time to pull on your weakness, your loneliness, your impatience, or your need for immediate comfort. That is why this next stretch must be handled with seriousness. This is not the hour to become careless with your peace. This is not the season to entertain what God already delivered you from. This is not the moment to confuse familiar with safe. Some of what returns will not come looking evil. It will come looking nostalgic. It will come looking flattering. It will come looking convenient. It will come wearing the voice of something you once prayed over, once cried over, once hoped would change. But if God removed it, do not rebuild it. If heaven closed it, do not force it open with your emotions. If it cost you your clarity the last time, it will cost you again. You must understand that spiritual opposition does not always appear as obvious darkness. Often it appears as mist, as fatigue, as emotional fog, as the urge to settle quickly because you are tired of waiting well. But this is where your discernment must become sharper than your desire. You cannot afford to let desperation make decisions that will delay what heaven has already set in motion. The enemy does not fight hardest over what means nothing. Resistance often intensifies around what carries real breakthrough, real healing, real generational change. And what is approaching your life carries all three. That is why you may feel tension in places that were quiet before. That is why your spirit may feel alert even when you cannot yet explain what is happening. Listen to that alertness. Let it drive you deeper into prayer, deeper into restraint, deeper into obedience. Psalm 11 says, "For he shall give his angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways." You are not unguarded in this season. You are not exposed without help. You are being watched over, covered, and warned so that you do not lose in a careless moment what God prepared over many hidden seasons. Stand still in your spirit. Guard your gates. Protect your mind. Protect your time. Protect the tenderness that God is restoring in you. What is close now is too sacred to be traded for a temporary distraction. Too costly to be delayed by one impulsive return to what already proved it could not carry your future. Now is the time to make room. Not later. Not when everything becomes obvious. Not when the promise is already standing at your door. But now. You cannot keep arranging your life around loneliness and then expect to fully receive the kind of union God is sending. You cannot keep building your routines, your space, your thoughts, and your emotional habits as if you are still preparing for absence when heaven is preparing you for arrival. This is not symbolic only. This is practical. This is spiritual. This is urgent. Begin to clear what no longer reflects where your life is going. Clear your space. Clear your schedule. Clear your inner conversations. Clear the agreements you made with disappointment. There are places in your life still organized around survival, still shaped by seasons when you had to expect nothing, rely on no one, and keep your heart in a constant posture of self-protection. But that arrangement cannot remain untouched if you are entering a season of divine companionship. The life ahead of you cannot fit inside the structure built by old pain. That structure must be broken open. Some of you need to physically declutter. Some of you need to release reminders of connections God has already ended. Some of you need to stop revisiting emotional rooms that heaven has already emptied. And some of you need to make room in your spirit by finally believing that what is coming is not another disappointment wearing the face of hope. Because as long as you treat every possibility like a threat, you will struggle to recognize the difference when God finally sends what is safe. This is why gratitude must become part of your preparation. Thank God now. Before the meeting, thank Him before the move. Thank Him before the confirmation arrives in visible form. Speak blessing over the one who is being led toward you. Pray over their healing, their safety, their obedience, their discernment, their timing. Not because you are trying to force the promise, but because gratitude aligns the heart with what heaven is already building. Fear closes the fists. Gratitude opens them. And you must not enter this next season with clenched hands and a guarded spirit when God is trying to place something holy into your life. You are not preparing for fantasy. You are preparing for responsibility, for covenant, for presence, for shared purpose, for the end of one kind of life and the beginning of another. This is why even your habits must begin to shift. Stop speaking as if you are forgotten. Stop planning as if you are permanently alone. Stop settling your soul into places that were only meant to shelter you temporarily. A traveler is coming. A partner is coming. A person with stories, insight, tenderness, and holy weight is moving under divine instruction toward the place where your life and theirs will meet. And when they arrive, they should not step into a heart still crowded with fear, resentment, and the echoes of what almost destroyed you. Let there be space. Let there be expectation. Let there be order. Let there be room in your life for peace to live there without being questioned. The old season trained you to brace yourself. This new season is asking you to prepare yourself. There is a difference. One is ruled by fear. The other is ruled by faith. And this time, faith must lead. So begin now. Open the drawer. Clear the shelf. Release the memory. Rewrite the pattern. Change the prayer. Lift your head. Tell God that you are ready for what is clean. Ready for what is steady. Ready for what carries both love and assignment. Ready for the kind of blessing that does not confuse your spirit but settles it. Because what is coming cannot be received casually. It must be welcomed intentionally. And the more you make room, the more clearly you will feel it. Your life is no longer being prepared for isolation. It is being prepared for arrival.